Recording in progress.
Good morning. Welcome to the Board of Supervisors meeting, Napa County, January 9th, 2024. And I'm calling this meeting to the order, and would the clerk please do the roll call?
Vice Chair Cottrell,
Here.
Supervisor Ramos,
Here.
Supervisor Pedrosa,
Here.
Supervisor Gregory,
Here.
Chair Gallagher.
Here. Christopher Thompson, are you here? Here. Yes. Can you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Sure. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we're moving on to Pet of the Week. I'm going to also announce the presentations, proclamations, and commendations, and then be moving to the front here. 4A is to present a proclamation recognizing Supervisor Belia Ramos for her service and accomplishments as board chair in 2023. And B is present a proclamation recognizing January 2024 as 6th Annual Positive Parenting Awareness Month in Napa County. So now we'll take up the Pet of the Week. Where is the Pet of the Week? Coming up? Okay. So thank you. This is Domino, everyone. Domino got the memo that is Black and White Day and is here to join us. And Katie, can you tell us a little bit about Domino?
Absolutely. So Domino came to us as a stray, actually on Christmas Day. He was found wandering at large in American Canyon. I'm sure that you guys can gather from our previous Board of Supervisors meetings. Our highest populations come from the city of Napa, and then right behind that is the city of American Canyon. So he was found as a stray, came to us. He is an awesome dog. He is a cattle dog mix, around 3 years old. He's a neutered male. He does not act like your typical cattle dog. He doesn't have that super high energy, although at times he will. But he's, for the most part, really easygoing, becoming a staff favorite very quickly. He's just a love. So this is Domino. Really quickly, I did want to just let you guys know that in December, we had 126 adoptions. And overall, our year total for 2023 was 959 adoptions. And our overall live release rate was at 96%. So that's something we are super proud of here at the Napa County Animal Shelter. So thank you so much. If anybody wants to come and meet Domino, we're here Tuesday through Sunday from 10 a.m. to 12, and then we open back up 1 to 4:45.
Thank you, and remember that we will be waiving the adoption fees, and please visit Domino. He really is very sweet. We played with him in the back for a while, so thanks so much, Katie. Okay, we are moving on to our first proclamation, and if I could please ask Supervisor Ramos to join me at the podium. I just want to first say that I'm very excited to be your new chair. I feel like I'm filling very big shoes. Not big shoes. I mean, I think her foot's probably smaller than mine, but very good shoes. And, Belia, you did such an amazing job last year, and just guiding the board through a time of a lot of transition. And you were just a fabulous leader for us and for the staff, and did a beautiful job leading the meetings. And I only hope to do half as well as you have done. So. Everyone, be patient with me. I won't quite probably have the finesse of Supervisor Ramos, but maybe by December. So I'm going to go ahead and read this proclamation. Whereas in 2023, 5th District Supervisor Belia Ramos served as chair of the Napa County Board of Supervisors for the second time during her tenure in office, and Whereas Supervisor Ramos demonstrated exceptional leadership throughout 2023, resulting in numerous accomplishments and milestones for the county, and whereas acknowledging the critical importance of accessible childcare in supporting our workforce and community, during Belia Ramos's tenure as chair, the board invested $3.8 million in forgivable loans awarded to 6 child care providers who put forth proposals that would create or preserve hundreds of child care spaces. And whereas Chair Ramos led the board in pursuit of a facilities master plan that will shape the county's vision and strategy for the next 2 decades, various county departments actively participated in the master planning process with regular check-ins planned to ensure alignment with the board's vision and intent. And whereas Chair Ramos helped to find solutions to support housing initiatives, in 2023, the board supported the Affordable Accessory Dwelling Unit Forgivable Loan Program, the Older Adult Rental Assistance Pilot Program, and allocates substantial funds to create 180 affordable housing units. And whereas recognizing the importance of safety net services, Chair Ramos led the board in awarding $2.3 million of tobacco master settlement agreement funds to community providers for 14 projects supporting critical safety net services for fiscal year 23-24, and in some cases extending up to 2 additional years. Additionally, the board committed to dispersing $4 million to community-based organizations over the next 3 years. And whereas under Chair Ramos's leadership, the county made substantial investments in road infrastructure, dedicating approximately $35 million to improve local roads, the year marked a significant milestone with over 45 miles of roadway being paved and the pavement condition index score increasing from 45 to 53, a new record for Napa County. And whereas reaffirming the board's commitment to public safety, under Chair Ramos's guidance, the county prioritized fire prevention and suppression. In 2023, the board allocated $6 million to the Napa Firewise Foundation's Community Wildfire Protection Plan and directed staff to implement the recommendations of the Fire Master Plan, focusing on short, mid, and long-term strategies. Now, therefore, it be proclaimed that this Board of Supervisors, County of Napa, State of California, on this 9th day of January 2024, does hereby commend and express sincere gratitude to Supervisor Belia Ramos for her exemplary leadership and unwavering support of the county as the chair of the board in 2023. Thank you. And before Supervisor Ramos speaks, is there anyone of my colleagues that wants to make any comments? Just go for it.
That was a lot of whereases, but that was a lot of accomplishments. And I just wanted to say thank you for your work bringing this board team together. And also, you were so organized, and as a new supervisor, you brought not only education to your fellow board members, but to the public about our processes and increasing transparency. So I'm grateful to you for that. And you represented the county both within the county among our residents and at a regional and state level, which takes more time and energy too. So I'm grateful for that. And finally, thank you for all the baking that you did for the board over the year as well. That was much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to say this is a big job. It's much bigger when you're chair. You're in the office a lot more than the rest of us, spending a lot more time running the office, setting the agendas with the CEO, etc. You did it with professionalism and class. Thank you. Also, it can't be overstated how impressive it is, the leadership positions we have now with Supervisor Pedrosa at MTC, you at ABAG. It's really unheard of for this county to have that kind of leadership and representation in these organizations that mean so much to us. So thank you for your service.
And I'll just say, I think, Supervisor Ramos, your leadership while we had so much transition, I think is really to be acknowledged. And a lot of folks don't understand, it's not just Tuesdays, it's all the work leading up to Tuesdays, it's agenda management, but also with the transition of our executive team being able to be part of that and guide the county. I just want to say thank you for that.
Thank you so very much to my colleagues for this, as uncomfortable as it was being in the position of not knowing what the resolution said. I am incredibly grateful because this is work that we have done together. You know, when I look here at what's in front of us to make this happen every single Tuesday, 5 of the people here are new. Right? We have Paulette, we have 2 supervisors that joined us, and our CEO and our county council, and that all happened in 2023. So I think it really is commendable for the board itself and the county that we accomplished so much that is mentioned in here together in a point of transition, to bring on an all-new executive team, 2 new colleagues, and to do this well and to go running to the finish line for a really big accomplishment of investments, of progress, and really of strategy. It's commendable for everyone, and I thank you for your collegiality, your professionalism, and your fellowship in making that happen. And to our staff, you know, I always say we get to say what we want to happen, but it's our staff that makes it happen. And so to our 1,500 men and women that comprise the county of Napa, 1,500 plus, I am grateful for taking our direction on Tuesday and bringing it into action. And one of the things that I think is really set to really position us well in 2024 is that the investments and the priorities that we have made, whether it's through fire mitigation or through affordable housing, we're about to, we're about to have our biggest year ever when we look at the work that we're doing regionally and statewide and being a leader in that capacity. So I'm looking forward. Congratulations to Supervisor Gallagher. You've made it through your first day with more whereases than I ever had to speak. And I'm looking forward to your leadership and to Vice Chair Cottrell as we transition into 2025. And I just wanted to acknowledge that when you do all of this, we the 5 of us know, and our staff and our board aides that see us running around haphazardly, sometimes trying to make it all happen. None of this happens without the support of family. And my 2 biggest supporters are in the room, and that is my parents, Salvador and Belia Ramos, in the back. And just one last expression of gratitude, and that is to my assistant. My children always laugh that I have 2 Jesuses in the world, and Jesus Tejero is by far at the top of my list for making it all happen, and I apologize on a weekly basis for the calendar that I have created with all my yeses, but I also thank our staff for the incredible support so that I can move on to take on these regional and statewide leadership positions now in 2024. Thank you, with much gratitude.
So if we can gather for a photo in front, please. Thank you. Okay, and on to our second proclamation. This is for the 6th annual Positive Parenting Awareness Month. And if those of you who are here would like to come up and stand with me that are here to receive the proclamation. Yeah, come on. Please. Okay, this is Jessica Silverman from COPE, and I think, Jessica, you're going to be receiving this on behalf of the group. Okay, great. So you want to come and just stand right here. All right, great. Whereas raising children and youth to become healthy, confident, capable individuals is the most important job parents and caregivers have, and whereas the quality of parenting or caregiving is a powerful predictor of future social, emotional, and physical health, and families come in many forms with children raised by parents, grandparents, foster parents, family members, and other caregivers. And whereas the pandemic, climate crisis, and racial injustices have exacerbated economic insecurity, mental health challenges, domestic violence, discrimination, and other trauma experienced by families, particularly Black, Indigenous, Latina, Asian, and other families of color. And whereas positive parenting is a protective factor that prevents and heals adverse childhood experiences which impact lifelong health and well-being and occur in the context of adverse community environments that lack equity. And whereas families in Napa County can receive support from positive parenting programs, including the Triple P Positive Parenting Program, an evidence-based program available thanks to partnership between Napa County Health and Human Services, Parents Can, Cope Family Center, Child Start Incorporated, and Up Valley Family Centers. And whereas Triple P has benefited over 18,000 parents, caregivers, children, and youth in Napa County since 2017 through proven strategies to strengthen relationships, promote children's development, and handle parenting challenges. And whereas families in Napa County can also receive support for raising healthy, thriving children from high-quality programs offering home visiting, early learning and care, after-school care, preventative health and dental care, behavioral health care, economic support, other basic needs, and more. And whereas everyone can play a vital role in supporting parents and caregivers to raise happy, healthy children. And during the month of January, Napa County Triple P Collaborative partners and many others will be increasing awareness of the importance. Now, therefore, it be proclaimed that this Board of Supervisors, County of Napa, State of California, on this 9th day of January 2024, does hereby recognize January 2024 as the 6th Annual Positive Parenting Awareness Month in Napa County. We commend the work and mission of Cope Family Center, Parents Can, and the Triple P Collaborative Program and encourage all residents to join us in this recognition and reach out to learn more.
Hi, good morning, and thank you. First, thank you to Chair Gallagher and to the supervisors for providing us this time to meet with you today and for this proclamation declaring this as the 6th Annual Positive Parenting Awareness Month in Napa County. I'm speaking to you today on behalf of the entire Triple P, Napa County Triple P Collaborative. We are a robust group of agency partners which provide parents with the education, resources, and support they need to bring out the best in their children, teaching parents positive ways to manage behavioral issues and encouraging positive behaviors in children. The Napa County Triple P Collaborative partners include Child Start Inc., Parents Can, Up Valley Family Centers, Cope Family Center, Aldea, Napa News, Courage Center, Napa County Library, Queen of the Valley Medical Center, St. Joseph Health, Napa County Office of Education, Napa Valley Unified School District, and the Napa County Health and Human Services Agency, Child Welfare, Self-Sufficiency, Public Health, and Mental Health Divisions. The evidence-based Triple P Positive Parenting Program helps parents to strengthen family relationships, teach children new skills and behaviors, gain confidence handling challenging behaviors, and to take care of yourself as a parent. Together, these result in reducing stress, anxiety, depression, thereby reducing the risk of child abuse and neglect in Napa County. As a collaborative, we work together to help strengthen families with support, resources, and most importantly, the right interventions at the right time. Cross-referring between agencies that offer these services has been key to our prevention and efforts, all while increasing parent satisfaction with their parenting skills. Together, the collaborative has served over 18,000 parents and children in Napa County since 2017. Sorry, this keeps coming down here. 93% of parenting class graduates reported that they were better able to manage their children's behavior, and 100% of parents reported reduced stress after receiving support from local family resource centers. I think we can agree those are some pretty invaluable numbers there. This work is made possible through critical partnerships with Napa County Health and Human Services Agency, again through their child welfare, self-sufficiency, public health, and mental health divisions, and through the support of the Board of Supervisors funding these efforts. To date, the MSA grant funding has invested over $1 million in the Triple P Collaborative and provided stability to our partner agencies to continue to do their good works. 2024 is an exciting time for us. We continue to expand outreach and programming throughout Napa County. Some of the examples of this are providing positive parenting programs to rural parts of our valley through the Up Valley Family Centers. An additional expansion of some of our programs, including for parents of children with special needs through Parents Can, increasing the parenting programs for parents of teens in partnership with NCOE, and most recently for parents directly at schools in partnership with NVOSD and On the Move. I was going to ask all the practitioners to stand, but they're already here. So on behalf of the Napa County Triple P Collaborative, we thank you for your continued support and investment in strengthening families in Napa County and your dedication to positive parenting programs. Thank you.
And if you can join for a picture, please. All right, thank you. We are now to item number 5, consent calendar for special districts. Do I have any public comment on this item?
No one on the line either.
No? Okay. All right, thank you. I'll entertain a motion to,
I'll make a motion to
Approve?
approve 5A.
okay, motion by Ramos, second by Gregory. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Alrighty, we are on to our consent calendar, item 6. I've been advised that we are dropping item 6E and 6M. Does anyone on the board have any comments?
Chair
Supervi-
Gallagher, on 6B, I will be recusing from that item. My wife does work for Ola Health.
Okay.
So if we can take that item separate,
I think we're going to take them all at once, and we will just note that you abstain.
Wonderful.
Supervisor Pedrosa.
recusal.
And we'll note my recusal as well for
Okay.
similar reasons of being in a relationship with the CEO of Olay Health and not having a financial interest in Olay, but being careful about it.
Great. Thank you, Supervisor Gregory. All right, then I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar with the exclusion of 6D and 6E and 6M.
Okay,
I'll
motion
second.
by Supervisor Ramos,
I'll second that.
second by Supervisor Cottrell. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you. Okay, we are now moving on to item 7, public comment. This is general public comment for all matters not listed on the agenda within the jurisdiction of the Board of Supervisors and Special Districts. Is there anyone in the room who would like to make public comment? Is there anyone on the phone?
No one on the line.
Great, thank you. Okay, number 8 is Board of Supervisors reports and announcements. Do I have any comments or reports from my colleagues? I'm watching the buttons. Supervisor Cottrell.
Thank you, Chair. I was just going to mention one item. I had a recent meeting with our clerk of the board, Neha Hoskins, and she was giving me an overview of the work of the clerk. and also pointing out that the county has many different places where it has policies and procedures, and that one of the goals of the clerk, as well as Ms. Craig, Assistant CEO, and Mr. Mize, our legislative analyst, is to pull those together so that we've got them in one place and sort of do the housekeeping on those items. So I'm thankful for that and looking forward to being able to provide that in one place for more public transparency too. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, I don't see any other lights. We have no discussion of items pulled. No special district administrative items. Number 11, administrative items. 11A, appointment of one of the following applicants to serve on the Napa Sanitation District Board of Directors as a public member with the term commencing immediately and expiring December 31st, 2025. The names of the applicants are Peter Bartlett, Kenneth Diebert, Alan Charles Delario, and Eric Dahlberg. Okay, and I read it.
You read this
Do you
stuff
need
for,
it?
for me, but yep, the previous incumbent, David Graves, he served the maximum of 4 terms pursuant to Resolution 95-148. That created this vacancy that you see here for a public member. So the board's action item for today is to choose one of the 4 applicants that you see here.
Okay, I'm going to ask Supervisor Cottrell, did you have a, oh, sorry. Okay. So Supervisor Gregory, as a reminder, sits on the Napa Sand Board, and do we have a report, comments, anything from you?
Sure, a few comments, and I have a recommendation or a motion. I just want to start by saying this spot's not open very often. I want to thank David Graves for serving as our public member on Napa Sand's board for 8 years. Prior to him, it was Chuck Shinneman for 8 years. So this is a spot not open often, and we should pick very wisely. I want to thank all the applicants. They each brought their own impressive skill set for us to consider. What I'm focused on now and what the board needs the most, in particular because the rate study we do every 5 years is coming up, we need to focus on the financial oversight of the board. And so for this reason, I'll be recommending the appointment of Peter Bartlett, who happens to be in the audience. There he is. Another advantage of Mr. Bartlett is he's in the wine business, and one thing Napa Sand's been working on for the last several years is how do we be a better partner and player in treating our hauled winery wastewater, processed wastewater. And so Peter, having experience now in the wine business, will be an advantage to his time on the board. So I'd like to make a motion to appoint Peter Bartlett.
I'll second that.
Okay, I'd like to take public comment on this item. And anything on the phone?
No one on the line.
Okay, great. We have a motion by Supervisor Gregory, a second by Supervisor Pedrosa. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, well, Mr. Bartlett, congratulations.
Thank you.
That was relatively painless. All right, we're going to move on to item 11B, County Counsel's Office. I believe Mr. Fitzpatrick is going to present this item. The introduction and intention to adopt an ordinance approving a minor boundary change between Napa and Sonoma counties proposed by Sheldon Richards. Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Good morning, Chair Gallagher, members of the board. My name is Ryan
Fitzgerald, I'm sorry.
Microphone.
How did I get that wrong?
Sit over here.
Fitzgerald.
I'm one of Cheryl's deputies, and I'm here today because on November 26th, this board conducted a public hearing regarding the petition of Sheldon Richards to change the Napa-Sonoma County line to coincide with his property line, and during that public hearing, no protests were received, and this board directed me to return with an ordinance effectuating the proposed boundary change. So the proposed ordinance today contains the required elements set forth in the government code, and I prepared it in collaboration with my counterparts in the Sonoma County Counsel's office. I just wanted to flag something in the board letter. I indicated that I thought Sonoma would be bringing their item today. I talked to my counterpart in Sonoma County Council's office, and they're actually going to be bringing it on the 23rd. So they're going to be introducing it on the 23rd and intend to adopt it on the 30th. So it'll be a week after us, but that's not a problem from a government code standpoint. So if the board votes to intend to adopt the ordinance, adoption will follow on the January 23rd consent calendar.
Great, thank you so much. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Fitzgerald before we take public comment? All right, is there any public comment on this item? On the phone?
Let me confirm. No one on the line.
Okay, great, thank you. Bring it back to the board.
Oh.
Yes, Supervisor Ramos.
I do have one question, a technical question as to mapping. As insignificant as a little change as this is, how does that follow, and what department is responsible for the mapping changes, and when will that be reflected?
So within, we actually have quite a bit of time to do this, but your clerk of the board is responsible for sending a legal description and a map of the boundary change to the State Board of Equalization. They have until December 1st to do that. So we've got plenty of time to work with NEHA to make sure that that's completed.
And if I might add, we work with the assessor's office. It's not just the clerk making it up.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
With that, I'll make a motion for intent to adopt an ordinance approving the minor boundary change between Napa and Sonoma counties.
Okay, I also have Supervisor Pedroza. Did you?
I'm happy to second it. I just wanted to make sure that this was Napa taking some Sonoma property, right?
Yes, we're ceding just a tiny bit, but we're getting more than we're losing.
Absolutely second it.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion from Ramos, second by Pedroza. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fitzgerald. I will never forget your name now. Okay, item 11C, adopt a resolution and approve and authorize agreement number 240259B, taking necessary steps to sell approximately 70.6 acres of Napa County-owned land, commonly known as the Calistoga Fairgrounds property, to the city of Calistoga. And CEO Alsop, you're reporting?
Yes, Madam Chairwoman, members of the board, this item is as exciting as it reads, I think, is unfortunately not going to be heard today. We're continuing it to the next meeting, which is January 23rd.
Okay, thank you. All right, Napa County Fire Department, item 11D, approve and authorize agreement number 240256B with Napa Communities Firewise Foundation for a maximum amount of $7 million for the term July 1, 2023 to July 30th, 24, with 2 automatic 1-year extensions to provide community outreach, defensible space consulting, wildfire mitigation, fuel reduction, and preparation for wildfires, and a budget amendment to increase fire marshal community grants appropriation totaling $1 million using restricted fund balance. And Mr. Shu, are you reporting on this? Please come on up.
Yeah, I think this one's not working.
It is now.
Is it now?
Mhm.
Okay.
Magic touch.
Don't know what I did. Okay. Good morning, Chair Gallagher and members of the board. Like to thank you for giving us a few moments. Myself, the new fire administrator, David Shu, and my colleague, Joe Nordlinger, the CEO of Napa Firewise, and offering us a few minutes to provide you an update on wildfire prevention and funding resources. Next slide, please. As we all know, fast forwarded too many slides. So as we all know, the wildfire issues that are affecting us today have been in progress for a long, long time. In fact, we could go back a century or more to really talk about the evolution of the fire impacts that we're recognizing today. However, I think a lot of us can use the tipping point of the evening of October 8th, 2017, as that critical event that really led us to Napa County making significant decisions on how we move forward today, and really recognizing the catastrophic nature of these fires and the impacts they're having on our community. And those critical decisions have led us through some really amazing project work and success stories that we want to present to you today. The Napa County went through a period of producing a countywide CWPP, a Community Wildfire Protection Plan, and from that CWPP, the county was able to identify a number of priorities to be able to fund the projects that included, roadway clearances for evacuation purposes, critical fuel breaks, and public education that both went ahead and supported and reinforced existing fire-safe councils throughout the county and created new fire-safe counties that now total 21, with additional fire-safe councils for communities and neighborhoods in the planning process today. Over a 3-year period from approximately September 2020 through the fiscal year of 23, the county supported project work in the tune of just over $14.6 million to create these projects and do this public education. And the agreement that you have before you for consideration today continues that work with an additional $7 million of funding, as Chair Gallagher pointed out, a total of $6 million in county general fund monies, with an additional $1 million primarily shepherded by Senator Dodd through the state. At your board meeting on December 19th, we spoke to you briefly about that agreement, and amendment number 5 to the previous agreement that brought up the funding through June 23, and the new agreement before you is providing those additional funds. I'm now going to turn the presentation over to Joe Norlinger, the CEO of Napa Community Firewise Foundation, and he'll provide you an update on the current past projects and current and future projects that we'll be working on. Next slide, please.
Great, thanks, Dave. Appreciate the intro. I want to thank everyone here for the opportunity to speak on behalf of our board, our fire safe councils, and the many partners who assist in this work that we do. I'll try to keep my comments brief and succinct. It's a lot to cover in 6 or 7 minutes, and I just want to state up front that if at any time anybody wants to dig deep into any of these project numbers, the budgets, etc., feel free to reach out. We're happy to go into great detail. I want to thank the supervisors, the staff, including the new CEO and the new fire administrator, as well as CAL FIRE, the auditor, the county council, for their excellent teamwork that they do with Napa Firewise. We have a tremendous partnership with everybody in terms of driving this important work. As I mentioned before, today is really a report out on outcomes, and so I'm going to focus on some metrics. I do want to qualify that the data that I will be covering can be tricky sometimes because fiscal years don't coincide with calendar years when work is done. Oftentimes you might have multiple funding sources that we use to accomplish a project. So if at any time you look at these numbers and something doesn't seem to add up, just reach out. We're happy to clarify, but take these numbers as sort of broadly accurate and directional. Our work focuses on implementation and maintenance and helping landowners to do work on their lands. And we're going to follow the fire science and the recommendations of our partners at CAL FIRE and Napa County Fire, the Napa County Fire Administrator, as well as our forestry and fire consultants. And I'll add this work broadly aligns with a key focus of ours, which is try to improve the insurance outcomes. And Dave's expertise in this area is going to be very, very important for the county. So I want to stay on this map slide if we can, please. When you look at this data, what you're looking at is a map of the projects that were accomplished with Napa County funding from earlier amendments in 20 and 22. And just a few highlights on this. This work focused on some perimeter fuel breaks, roadside clearing, dozer fire road containment, and a public works contract that we did for storm cleanup. So the perimeter fuel breaks accomplished about 255 acres of treatment protecting an additional 786 structures. The roadside clearing accomplished roughly 59 miles of treatment and improved the safety of about 2,291 residents directly. Obviously, there are thousands more that use these roads, but that's the GIS data that says the residents that are on those roads. The Dozer Fire road containment, which is the work that we do out in the rural hinterlands to create containment roads, was approximately 17 acres of dozer line treatments, about 5 miles of containment lines. The anecdote that I wanted to add on the public works contract, we had some money that was funded by the county to do storm cleanup. We actually were able to do that work way ahead of schedule and use funds to do additional work in other areas. That was a real success for the county and money well spent. The next slide here is titled NC 20 through 22 funding. Okay. What I want to talk about the slide when it comes up is really talking about the work that was done in 20 and through 22 with both the Napa County 14.6 million, the numbers that I covered before, and the additional funding of 20 million that Napa Firewise was able to secure. So I want to clarify that because when you look at the data, it can be a little confusing. So that combined work that was done with all of this included 2,356 acres treated, 219 miles of roadside clearing, grazed acres at about 353, and dozer miles of about 73. So again, this is a combined county 14.6 and 20 roughly million that the Napa Firewise was able to raise. I want to talk a little bit about fire safe councils, which is the next slide. We have established 21 fire safe councils, as Administrator Hsu mentioned. They range in maturity. Some of these fire safe councils were established earlier. Some of them are sort of nascent. Some of them are a little bit more mature. We've got 9 additional fire safe councils that are planned. These organizations are super critical in terms of being a component of resident engagement. And we're going to welcome the support of any supervisor who can help us with new fire safe councils that we're trying to stand up. Oftentimes, we're trying to find residents who are engaged on this issue, and so you all can play a great role with that. Chair Gallagher and I are meeting later on this month to talk about fire safe councils down in her area. One important thing that I want to mention about fire safe councils, they do not really sustain themselves unless they see projects in their CWPPs getting done. And so this is a lesson learned early on that you have to have sort of tactical impact with these folks. Otherwise, it's a sort of a thankless task of volunteering where you're not seeing action. They tend to sort of disintegrate. We've made a lot of progress with the county funding to reinforce these fire safe councils. We want to keep that up. Other initiatives, which is the next slide, speaks to a couple other elements of our overall strategy on wildfire resilience. Those include 911 signs for address signs and defensible space cost share. This work was funded by, the 911 signs were funded by California Fire Safe Council, CAL FIRE, and Bank of the West. The defensible space cost share work was funded by CAL FIRE and California Fire Safe Council. So we've delivered and implemented 1,987 signs. We've done home evaluations on 335 homes, and we've reimbursed for defensible space on 146 homes. One key element to this, we're always thinking about how to be a force multiplier in this space. For every dollar that we spent on defensible space cost share, we unlocked another $2.71 by the residents. So it's a good return on investment. We want to make sure we continue that work. Additional funds in slide 20, the next slide, speaks to specifically the work that was done with the roughly 20 million that was raised from other sources. And I'm just going to highlight this briefly and keep moving forward. This also was perimeter fuel breaks that were funded by CAL FIRE, PG&E, the Bill Dodd Holiday Fundraising Party, and the Napa Valley Vintners. We've done approximately protected 6,153 residents, 2,051 structures, and cleared about 403 acres. The roadside clearing work that we did in this space was about 10 miles treated, 89 acres treated, that basically protected about 640 residents. Again, residents that were on those roads. Lots of other residents used those roads. The dozer money, which was from Napa Valley Vintners, the Bill Dodd Holiday Party, and CAL FIRE, 582 acres of dozer line treatments, approximately 68 miles of containment lines. And I would add that there's another element of this project work, which is large landscape level work. CAL FIRE's funded some really important work around Angwin that cleared about 500 acres. Just speaking briefly about 23, which is the amendment being considered today, there's a couple slides if we can advance to them. These projects are enumerated. There are about 12 of them. I'm going to caution folks that some of these dates that are listed may fudge. The complexity of doing this work requires, good weather, requires CEQA compliance being completed on time. It requires sometimes the ability for us to time a project so that we can use those dollars as match to unlock more dollars. Again, we're always thinking about being a funding force multiplier. But here's 12 projects that are road clearing and vegetation related. Happy to speak to any of those during Q&A. Additionally, this funding is going to fund CEQA compliance. We're always trying to build a pipeline of future projects, so the county funds, which is the next slide on CEQA, are useful for us in terms of building that pipeline of future projects for our work. There's a map, if we advance to the next slide, which is essentially the projects, the veg projects, roadside, et cetera, that are contemplated in this amendment that's being approved today. Happy to speak to that in Q&A. I want to talk briefly about the additional $1 million that is from Senator Dodd, which is really related to funding Napa Firewise to build our capacity. Obviously, this organization has grown tremendously in the last few years as a result of the fires and the additional funding that we've received. The county's been a huge part of that. As an organization, we have to scale our capacity to be a true services platform to meet the needs of the landowners and the county residents. And Senator Dodd generously helped to work with us to secure some funds for us to invest further in our program capacity. This is of particular importance as we think about the onboarding of the BRIC grant in the next year and a half. And so the money will be well spent. As always, if there's any questions about it, we welcome any sort of deep dive look into the numbers. I want to talk briefly about 24 fiscal year and beyond, which is slide 14. When we think about the work that we do and what needs to be done, we need to stay focused on maintaining the work that we've completed. This is an issue area where we can't just, we will likely never be done with this work. The project portfolio that we created and brought to the Board of Supervisors back in 2020 was our initial sort of tactical highest priorities. We continue to build that portfolio of projects that are needed for wildfire resilience in the county, and it's important that we remember that every time we do a project, we have to go back and maintain that work. We spent some good time with the county staff over several months, just as CEO Alsop was coming on board, thinking about all the work that had been done, what's contemplated to be done, what a maintenance schedule might look like that so that the organization, the county, could really wrap their heads around, the magnitude of that. We want to continue to tightly integrate with the county team and others to continually refine our strategy. We're thrilled that the county's made the investments in the fire administrator role to further that. And we want to continue to focus on working with our partners to think about long-term funding for this issue. It's hugely expensive work, and we recognize that the county's ability to fund this stuff is going to require some additional things. I want to remind everybody that we never want to be complacent with this issue as it relates to weather. We can have multiple years with no fires or very low fires or tremendous work by CAL FIRE to stamp out fires. We can have big winters that sort of give us a false sense of security. Big winters create additional vegetation that can be followed by long, hot, dry summers, and this issue becomes, very relevant once more. So we want to stay on that. We want to continue to collaborate with all of our county partners as we do the work. If you advance to what is slide 15, there's a map there, very hard to read. I recognize. Just if anybody has interest in sort of unfunded projects or the totality of the portfolio that we're focused on, we're happy to do a deep dive with anyone. We are happy to take folks out on tours to see these projects. Some of them are a little bit remote. They're out in the hinterlands, but it's important to see where this money is being spent and the impact that it makes. Lastly, what I would tell you on slide 16 here is we are, at the county's request, we got some high-level user requirements, use cases, and we recognize that this work, while it's expensive, requires tremendous transparency. We want to make this information accessible. We want to work with the residents to have the ability, public officials to be able to see Where is the money being spent? We are in the process right now of completing a dashboard that we will be rolling out later this month for user testing, with the intention of really rolling it out completely sometime in February. And what it'll allow you to do is look at any funding source to see work that's completed or work that's in progress or work that's contemplated, so that you can kind of drill down in a very simple, elegant way and understand how and where these dollars go, what's the nature of the work and where it is in the county, and frankly zoom all the way in and you can see where your parcel is relative to that work. So hopefully that was a quick, thorough coverage of some of these items. I want to make sure that if there are any questions in the Q&A that I have the ability to drill in, and I'll turn it back over to you, sir.
Thank you, Joe. So this is, next slide, please. This is officially my first formal presentation to you as a board, as the County Fire Administrator. And since JR and I first came on board on October 30th of last year, we've had a couple of months to get our feet on the ground and start working on the project work. The three pictures that you see up there, myself, J.R. Rogers, working as the project manager under Fire Administration, and Jason Downs as the County Fire Marshal, are all busy working on furthering this project. As we've hit the new year, JR and myself are really spending an awful lot of time meeting with stakeholders, both individuals and community groups and industry partners who are stakeholders in the wildfire arena. And when I talk about stakeholders, I literally mean every single person in the county. No one in this county is unaffected by wildfire. And so we're meeting with as many people as possible to look at what the work has been done. As you just heard, this amazing process of projects that have already been completed, that are in the planning stages, and that are future planned for these areas. There is an enormous amount of work going on. We are funneling all that into a future plan that will be coming back to you later and sharing more information. But largely, we're looking at the processes of planning, prevention, education, response and suppression, as well as recovery, and looking at how we can roll all of these good works and projects into a future plan of creating a more fire resilient Napa County for long into the future. Jason is busy moving the fire marshal's office over to their new offices. Not sure exactly what day that's going to happen, but pretty soon. Over to 951 California Boulevard down by First Street and the roundabout down there. So they'll be engaged in moving there where they'll have much, I think it's going to be great access for the public and contractors and people to work with them. But moving into the future, next slide please. We're going to be gathering all this information as well as planning for the new BRIC grant, the Building Resilient Infrastructure in Communities that will be coming forward in the near future, although we don't have any update for you on timeframes at this point. They haven't provided us any exact information yet, but we know it is coming. And so we're building a preparation and being ready to jump on that as soon as it comes. But all these community groups are really being able to inform us as we're listening to what their priorities are and how we can evolve that into a more solid plan. In a few months, in early spring sometime, I'll be coming back to you to give you a much deeper, more comprehensive view of what that plan begins to look like as we gather all this information. But in front of you are 5 bullet points that I've thrown together that are going to form the core basis of everything we'll be looking at. It includes, and I pardon the name there, home hardening. It really is structure hardening. It is not just for residential structures. It's for every building in the county, as we've seen in other fires throughout, wineries, schools, businesses. Nothing is immune from these types of incidents. So we'll be looking at that holistically as a fire protection plan for the entire county. For now, however, I'll look at these things: structure hardening, codes and standards, fire response, fuels management, public education. All of those are going to form the core basis of recommendations that I'll be bringing forward to you as a plan that we'll be looking at down the road. But I also want to emphasize the fact that as we go through those 5, they're not in necessarily priority order. things change over time, and those priorities will morph and move around as our priorities move around. So don't look at those 5 as a priority basis. They'll shift and move around as we work through this process. But collectively, all of those are going to be the focus that we'll be putting on our long-term planning. And I'll leave it at that because I'm not going to get into the big picture issues yet. Just know that those are going to be our priorities. And that concludes our presentation, and we're happy to entertain any questions.
Great, thank you, Mr. Shu. Mr. Nordlinger, does anyone on the board have comments or questions? Supervisor Cottrell.
Thank you, Chair. And thanks, Mr. Shu and Mr. Nordlinger, for the presentation. That was really helpful and had lots of data and maps and numbers, and helped us track the progress too, which is really critical. And I appreciate the kind of pointing out of some of the takeaways. For example, with the fire safe councils, making sure that they're able to see their projects make their way into a CWPP if they're going to feel like this is a process that is sustainable and worth our time. So that's an important one. And then a question I had was, there was one other takeaway that I wanted to flag, but a question I had was, as we're learning lessons about this whole process and how to do things better, with the CEQA projects, can you talk to us at all about lessons learned there? Is it getting, that's such a huge time and effort and cost at the front end of these projects. And so I guess I'm asking that question kind of in the context of BRIC coming down too. Are there ways that we've learned to manage that CEQA challenge?
Question for me?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, so I think your point is, I don't know if this mic's picking up. Your point is a great one. For us to sort of look downrange and understand how we stagger projects, we have to bake in a certain amount of time for what it's going to be required to get CEQA compliance. You referenced BRIC, which actually adds another complexity, which is it's not CEQA, it's NEPA. And so there are crosswalks, which is a sort of a terminology about the interchangeability of these things. But it's a key part of us sort of thinking downrange about projects and how we sequence them. In some cases, we're able to get a notice of exemption, which is a relatively inexpensive fast track for a project. In other cases, it could take quite some time to get the clearance that's required. We just had news yesterday that our programmatic EIR, which is up in Angwin, was approved, and this was a tremendous partnership between CAL FIRE, Dana Morrison here at the county, our outside consultants in the community, and the Board of Forestry. And that project, I believe, essentially provides CEQA clearance for something like 4,000 acres. So what that is we look at a large area, multiple projects. So we're always trying to think about efficient ways to achieve the environmental requirements that we need to, and at the sort of the largest scale we can. And so when we're able to, we want to grab a large swath of area with multiple projects in it, so that when we get the funding that we're looking for, we can get the chainsaws running, not shovels in the ground.
Right. Okay. That makes
sense.
Does
that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's the kind of thing I was looking for, is like, what are the tools that you now have to kind of optimize the CEQA or NEPA process? And the one other thing, you had something else.
Yeah, I was just going to add that the NEPA process, as difficult as that has proven to be, I think we have to take it a little bit into perspective and recognize the fact that NEPA was really created to look at very large landscape environmental issues for large projects that, really this all started back in the 60s and 70s when, for timber harvesting and things like that across the western United States. But there is a broad recognition, and at the National Cohesive Strategy meeting in November, the federal manager for the FEMA grant program and the NEPA compliance was speaking to many people from all over the country, talking about the difficulty that they recognize in translating those large landscape environmental issues down to a residential homeowner who needs to change their landscaping to protect their home. they're just two completely different sections. And FEMA is currently working on bringing forward some new requirements that will streamline it and make it easier. They promised to have that out sometime this year, but obviously with the federal government being what it is, nobody is giving any dates or anything else like that. But I wanted to give you a snapshot that even at the federal side of things, they recognize that they need to make some adjustments for how that meets these smaller individual personal property sections rather than these timber harvest projects.
Got it. Thank you. And the one other point I wanted to reiterate was this point about on the defensible space cost share program that the other money spent by the community is a 2x, a factor of 2x, right? So that we're spending X and we're getting the benefit of the landowner spending 2x. And I just think that's important to have as part of the discussion when we're looking at our budgeting, to understand that we're leveraging the community members who are spending dollars to make their properties safe as well.
Yeah, and I would add that, a huge part of our ethos at Firewise is around self-reliance. I mean, we really work with landowners to understand, if we think about what resilience is going to look like in the county, there's only so much of that that's going to be spent, covered by grants, and that's going to be covered by the county's funds. The reality is a lot of this work is going to come from private landowners who recognize the need to make these resilience investments, but they need assistance, they need guidance. These are expensive things to spend money on. And so we really spend a lot of our time when there's a project trying to work with landowners to understand how are they going to take on maintenance and stewardship of this post-work environment, so that when we spend brick dollars, when we spend CAL FIRE dollars, there's some ongoing kind of multiplier that is the landowner sort of stepping up.
Thank you. Supervisor Pedrosa.
Thank you, Chair. Look, both of you, thank you for your work. I know this is a lot of work that is required to put this on. And I do appreciate kind of a trip down memory lane because it's helpful. But I think the one thing that we got to continue to illustrate is the cost of not doing this.
Yeah.
So we know what the cost is when we lose homes. We know what the cost is to the county in loss of revenue. And I think we got to continue to talk about that, because when you talk about $14 million, that's a lot of money. $6 million that the county appropriates is a lot of money. That's not going to roads. That's not going to public health. But the fact is, if we don't do this, we know what the consequences are. So I think incorporating that into the storytelling is critical. I do appreciate the maintenance side of it, because I think that has to continue to be top of mind. It's not just funding new projects. It's what we have to continue to sustain. And I do want to acknowledge, I think there's a lot of creativity out there in my district. Silverado is willing to potentially tax themselves. And we need to continue to find creative ways where people are also putting in their dollar in the kettle to maximize it. And Joe, and you talked about that. The one thing that we brought up is on the CEQA, and I'm not going to pretend to understand it, but to me, and I do want to acknowledge Chief Marcucci for educating me on the process, but the way I understand it is, if there is a project that collectively you identify is a good project, there's still a process that we have to go through, environmental clearance, to go through that. To me, that costs money, and that costs delays potentially. And I think we're at a point where we shouldn't have to wait to do an environmental. If you're doing a big project, totally understand that. But if you're doing these projects that collectively you and fire identify as the right project, we should be expediting and streamlining those projects for the betterment of the public. So I'm still, that's an area that I'm still interested in. Maybe
Just
not.
Curious, when you say we, do you mean we, the county, or we?
You
sort of,
fire.
Okay.
It's not us saying this is a favorite project.
Right.
It's you collectively Firewise determining this project has significant benefit to reduce fuel load for this community. You prioritize it. So there's a process, and I think CAL FIRE should be involved, where you bless the project. So you create a criteria. The challenge that I see is when you do that, and say it's a project on Dry Creek Road and it's not identified, you have to go do environmental review, which can take sometimes years, from my understanding. There has to be a better way to expedite a project that you all deem worthy of the benefit. So that's just, again, bigger picture. We don't need to take a deep dive today, but I want to make sure that we're streamlining and expediting projects where possible, where we're not spending money on a process. Mindful of the missions, mindful of the environmental review and sensitive areas, but there has to be a way to try to make sure that we're putting our money into projects and trying to fund those projects as quickly as possible. So I don't know if you have any initial questions, but that's just an area of focus.
I mean, I think you're right. If the way we think about streamlining is just getting ahead of the curve. So, for example, with this money that's approved, or that hopefully will be approved here, we're basically looking downrange and saying, we know in our long-term sequence, we've got these projects that we're going to be working on a year and a half, whatever out. We got to get that stuff ready to go so that when that funding comes in, we're not waiting an additional year. That could be a little bit of a juggling act. I think the other thing are these programmatic EIRs, these Cal VTP PSAs, a lot of acronyms there. It's this large-scale environmental clearance. When we do that, what it does is it allows us to go back, to do additional work in an area where we've covered this large territory. So it gives us tremendous efficiency. And it's been a learning process, no doubt. Obviously, you've seen some of the delays that we struggled with in 20 and 21. And, learning those lessons, we don't want to be hamstrung, which is why we're really sort of trying to think downrange on this stuff. I don't know if you had anything else to add.
Yeah, I appreciate the comments. You're exactly right, and I wanted to respond to two items. One is the what is known in the state as the VTP-EIR, which is the Vegetation Treatment Program Environmental Impact Report. So as you know, the CEQA documents that are required, this has been a conversation that the state has dealt with for many years, recognizing the fact that if you have similar projects that have virtually identical impacts, why should everybody have to go through the exact same review? There's got to be a streamlined way. So the VTP was a way to help streamline that. And we were just speaking about this the other day, about bringing that into a more encapsulated focus just for Napa County. So we can do that exact same thing and look at similar projects that we've already done review on and that have been approved and meet certain that we're qualifying to meet the environmental issues, and then we can spread that across the board. So as we mentioned, there's just been a VTP approval for projects up at PUC and treatments that are just now moving forward. We got that notice yesterday. So we are working exactly on the issue you're talking about. We want to streamline the process. We want to make it simpler. We don't want to have to reinvent the wheel every time, and we'll be moving forward with that. The second comment I wanted to make is on your structure ignition issue. And for all the projects that we've spoken about here, and largely throughout the country, and especially in the state, when you look at the dollars being expended for fire prevention today, the vast majority of it is all going towards vegetation treatment projects. And by design, that is what we know, and that is what has been dealt with for many, many years. The missing link in all of that is really pivoting to focus on structure protection and structure ignitions. The recent presidential commission, the Wildfire Commission that just released its report in September, identified the top priorities across the entire country of looking at our built environment, that has been a critically understudied and underfunded priority to prevent structures from igniting. As we move forward, it has to be a combination of all of that. Doing the vegetation treatment projects so when fires burn through the landscape and a community, the built environment has been prepared so that the fire has a minimal impact, and structures and our infrastructure and our built environment is largely still intact and exists after that fire burns through. That's the vision and the goal, and I'll be speaking more about that with you in my future presentation, but you're exactly right, and I'm glad you brought it up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Gregory.
Thank you. We've come so far since that October 2017, and I want to thank the Firewise Foundation for getting us there. Just so impressive knowing some of us who were here then, where we started and how far we've come in a few short years, so thank you very much. And I need to make a comment, and feel free to add to it if you like. One of the criticisms against Measure L was private property owners should be doing this work themselves. They should be protecting themselves. But what you've shown is the big dollar projects are these containment lines, these roadside clearing, linear projects that are either within public jurisdiction or cross many property lines. Things you could never sit back and hope a private property owner will one day get to, or even organize to do it right. So just want to point out that's where we are. We still need to get to a place where we have that sort of durable funding we can count on each and every year. So
Certainly,
keep our eye on it.
long-term funding is critical, and I think you raise a really sort of interesting element dynamic of this whole issue, which is if you don't start from the premise that we're all in this together, if you think about it as we and them, or I'm city, it doesn't matter to me, it's just the folks in the country, you lose this sort of fundamental thing, that the nexus that pulls us all together. It doesn't really matter where you live. If we have a large catastrophic wildfire that produces $2 billion in damage, or whatever these estimates are, it radically impacts everyone in the county. And when I look at our board and our fire safe councils, they're people that live in the cities, they're people that live in rural areas, they're people that live in urban areas, they're people that are of great socioeconomic means, people that aren't. It stitches everybody together. It's a purple solution. It doesn't matter if you're conservative or liberal. I mean, fundamentally, this thing impacts everybody, and it's a peril that we actually have the ability to impact if we think about it and approach it in a timely and appropriate fashion. So to your point, thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to call for any public comment on this item. Anything on the phone? Okay, thank you. I'm going to bring it back, and can I get a motion?
So move.
Second.
Okay, moved by Pedrosa, seconded by Gregory. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, the motion carries, and thank you, gentlemen, very much for your
Thank you very
presentation.
much.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to 11E. Ms. Briseño, if you'd like to come up. That is to adopt a resolution to waive the 180-day wait period as defined in Government Code Sections 7522.56 and 21224 to hire Janet Notley as an extra help retired annuitant. Thank
Hi.
you, Ms. Briseño.
Good morning. In 2013, the Public Employees Pension Reform Act made substantial changes to public employee pension law. These changes included limitations on retiring employees' return to a CalPERS covered agency in an extra help capacity as a retired annuitant. PEPA requires a 180-day separation from the date of retirement to the date of return to work as an RA. There's an exception to this rule when there is a specialized needs for a skill set for a limited duration, which must be approved by resolution by a governing body and may not be on consent. As you know, Janet Notley retired as of 12/30/2023 after more than 20 years of service. And recently, Doug Deward, her previous assistant director, was named as her successor, which left the position of assistant director vacant. The assistant director and the director both act as counsel for the Department of Child Support Services. And because Janet's exit did create a need for that secondary counsel position, so this item recommends the board approve a resolution for a waiver of the 180-day limit to fill the specialized need while the recruitment is underway to fill the assistant director position.
Thank you. Does anyone on the board have any comments or questions? Okay. Great, thank you. Is there any public comment on this item on the phone? All right, thank you. Do I have a motion to adopt the resolution?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Motion by Cottrell, second by Pedrosa. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, thank you. I hope Ms. Notley hasn't planned a really long vacation, I guess.
Thank you.
All right, we do not have any public hearings for special districts or general public hearings, and we're going to move to closed session. I've been advised by County Council that we do not need to announce the closed session items, just to say that we will be moving into closed session. And are there any public comments on closed session items A through D? Anything on the phone?
No one on the line.
Okay, then we will be adjourning to closed session. And I am not sure what time we will be back.
Recording stopped. Recording in progress.
Welcome back. We are commencing our January 9th, 2024 meeting after closed session. And County Council, do you have any report?
Thank you, Chair Gallagher. The board met in closed session today on 4 items. Item 14A, public employee performance evaluation. No reportable action was taken. Item 14B, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation in the matter of Napa County versus Lindsay Hoops. No reportable action was taken. In the matter of 14C, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, 100 Acre Wine Group versus County of Napa. No reportable action was taken. Finally, item 14D, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation in the matter of Double V Properties versus County of Napa. No reportable action. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. We are going to now adjourn, and we will see you again at the Board of Supervisors regular meeting Tuesday, January 23rd, 2024 at 9 a.m. Thank you.